one. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Command Your Confidence. And today I'm joined by Ed Latmore. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's a good evening. Pretty cold here. We're about to get a bunch of some mix of winter weather, but that is what it is, man. Living in the Northeast.
Right. Now I hear I know what that's like. I'm from Michigan, so I know what it's like around that time. Right now it's just we're getting rain and everything.
Now, where are you at in the country or in the world? I
Arizona.
guess.
Arizona.
There you go. All right, so
Yeah, you don't get the harsh winters like we do back in Michigan, but it's like it's weird because like during the day it's like how should I say it's like it can be like 80 degrees, and at nighttime in the morning time it's like below zero. No, not below zero, but chilly, like in the 40s.
yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, because you guys are in the desert, the
Right,
majority of
exactly.
it, but you also have like extreme changes in elevation across the state. So I feel like it snows there too, doesn't it? In
Only in the
some
northern
parts of the
part of the
state.
state.
Yeah.
So, not like in this area. We get snow in Phoenix like every 10 years. So, but in the northern part of the state,
Okay.
though, it's like a common thing.
No kidding, man.
So I like it. Best of both worlds. Like, but when it rains here, though, like it's weird because back from where I'm from, like you can people drive in the rain. No, hardly any accidents, but here, like because it's different. People just don't like really care.
Very strange. Very strange. Yeah, that's one thing I don't know if I'll ever relocate, but I
hmm
do know that right now this is where I'm at, and this is I enjoy the kind of variation this season. I kind of actually wish it snowed a little more because what happens sometimes, and we get these spells where it's just cold and miserable, and then
Right.
and then that's all it is, just cold. It's not snowy, it's not rainy, it's just cold.
hmm Right. No, I hear you. But I mean, but we get hot summers here though, so that's the only downfall. We can go up to 123. So,
Woo.
but yeah. So Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like we're going to talk about inner game today and everything. And the reason why I wanted to talk this over with you was because you had wrote a book called "Loving Yourself is a Superpower," and I did read the book a couple of years ago. I have to say, very inspirational book and everything.
Yeah, well, the whole idea is like if you blah, who am I first of all? Well, I'm at Lattimore. I used to be a professional fighter for some years, and now I'm not. And that was a really useful time of my life. I could not imagine how my life would have turned out or what I would have done if I wasn't fighting and I didn't try to improve myself in that way. But then one day I realized that fighting would be over and I would have to do something. So, in the midst of my career, I decided to go back to school, which involved getting money to go back to school. So, I enlisted in the army. And so I was served in the army, went back to school. All this at the age of 28, mind you.
hmm
And then graduated at the age of 33 with a bachelor's degree in physics.
hmm
And in the same month I had been gradually kind of figuring things out, but in the same month that I graduated, May 2018, that was the first month that I had more than five figures made online. I was like, oh wow, this is like a real thing. I can do this. Let's see. Let's put the physics degree aside for a moment and figure out other things. Because I went back to school because I had a plan or an idea, kind of what I wanted to do, and then
hmm
it turns out I was really good at this internet thing, so I went and did that. Or more specifically, I think I'm very good at communicating. I think I'm very good at writing. I've certainly gotten a lot better, and I continue to improve. I'm in a class right now to work on my writing because I take it that seriously.
hmm
But after I graduated, I went on and I actually ended up tutoring kids for a while in physics and math, and that was a really rewarding experience really changed my perspective. First, it was my first real introduction to working on myself,
Hmm.
and working for myself, and also, I learned a lot about teaching people and explaining things to them, and getting them to understand complicated ideas simply. And now what I do is I write. I'm working on my next book.
Cool.
And I try to teach what I'm good at, because if you have some skills, you can do a lot. If you don't
Right.
have any, you're going to be
Exactly.
limited. Like there's no magic bullet. At some point, you still have to go put the work in and become proficient at something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, tell no, no, but talk to us about like what inspired you to write your first book, "Loving Yourself as a Superpower." Like, what is it that how? What is it about your life that inspired you to do it? And how did I mean? What have you learned that you wanted to like teach other people who read your book?
Huh. Well, the title is not caring what other people think is a superpower. That was that's the title, and I wanted to write, right, but I wanted, what am I going to write? Okay, so my goal with that was to teach people, or tell people about the areas, and write about the areas where I focused on improving my life, that allowed me to make a big change and big transitions, and in all areas really.
Hmm.
So that's what the book is about. Where the title came from, that was really important, because one of the things that I think held me back in some areas was I was worried about what people think, and it's a catchy title, right? It gathers a lot of attention.
Right.
It's got me a lot of
Well, I feel
interviews.
bad because I realized I got the name of the title wrong. I've had a
No,
whole
it's all good, man. It's all good, but it's it just, I'm really surprised. And here's what I tell people about that book. I am like such a better writer that I'm actually like, one of my side projects is like rewriting that, re-releasing the essays. And I just write better now. But despite that, people still got so much out of it that I'm forever grateful that
Mhm.
I had the opportunity and a fan base built to where I'd be able to make that book, and do pretty well for a self published book. There's like no, I mean, there's no, I want to say no money, because obviously someone gets paid because people buy books, but you don't write books because you think they're gonna uh, put food on the table. You write them because they're gonna set you up for other things, or you feel called to it.
Right,
But
exactly.
I feel very fortunate that the book ended up doing relatively well for a self-published book. It
Mhm,
definitely gave me a bridge as I was trying to figure out certain things in my life and the next steps and all that.
mhm. Now, why do you think, I mean, you've been there. Why do you think, like, people, like, why did you give a fuck what other people thought about you? Because I've been there too, man. So I know what that's like. And what were some of the strategies that you've learned to deal with that? Because I know, like, a lot of guys, like, these days, like, I mean, they're afraid of they're being judged by others. I mean, they're afraid to go talk to women because they are afraid of what they think about them. And I think a lot of us guys have that problem.
Um, so first, the big problem is that a lot of guys don't understand the difference between being liked and being respected. All we see is attention.
Hmm.
And really, well, I'll even call it positive attention, because it's not, because being liked is what you're trying to achieve when you care about what people think. No one cares about what people think, and then they try and piss them off. That's not how it works.
Hmm.
So you're trying to be liked, and so you behave in a way that won't piss people off and
Hmm.
won't cause a problem. And you walk on eggshells. You won't stand up for yourself because you're worried about being disliked. When the reality is, if you could be respectable, right, which is the other end of it, aiming to be respected, then maybe people will like you, maybe they won't. But what you'll have is respect, and that's the change, and that's what I started to focus on. That's what I realized accidentally. I didn't make the transition going, okay, uh, I'm going to aim for being respected. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a better person, but when I started to feel what respect was like, I was like, I don't care after that if people like me or not. I you know I care if they treat me with respect and I've earned their respect. And look, and the best thing you can do is, if people don't like you and they say bad things about you, the best thing you can do is make a liar of them. That's it. Like,
Right. No, that's a good way of looking at it. No, that's true.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
it's
because
funny.
you won't make everyone like you. I mean, that's just not possible. That's the other thing too. Is a bit of realism about this.
Hmm.
Is that you go, well, I can't make you can't make everyone like you, but you can make sure that people respect you or don't deal with you.
Yeah,
That's
so
your
like,
only
yeah, you have
alternative.
the choice. Like you can either accept, the way someone's treating you like crap. You can either,
Yeah.
just let them continue on doing it, or you just say, hey, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. And I think some people like have that ability to do that, but some guys, I think, kind of get stuck in that, because especially if they're in a relationship with a girl, they'll do if they have this scarcity mindset, they'll put up with the abuse of a girl, and not and just let her disrespect him.
Yeah, it's that's a really now other things kind of come into play there
Hmm.
as well. I mean, like one of the really interesting things, not interesting. I mean, it makes perfect sense, I guess. Is the sex drive is like that's the most powerful drive on the planet. I really think that everything that's really come from that. That's certainly like if we don't reproduce, we perish. So
Hmm.
that is like the other end of survival, reproduction. And so if you get a guy with an opportunity to reproduce, even though he's not having kids, but just having a go around, he's not going to jeopardize that. Now, except he doesn't understand that certain behaviors that seem to be good on the surface because they don't evoke emotional torrent. Guys are uncomfortable with an emotional torrent with that tension
Hmm.
because it doesn't evoke that. They think that these are ideal behaviors, and the reality is they're not.
Hmm.
So, in fact, they're pushing away to eating away at your self respect because when you let someone treat you like crap, when you tolerate that, you you're not saying disrespect me explicitly. Your actions imply that you don't see yourself worthy of respect, and then everyone else picks up on that, and all of a sudden you end up in a really bad position within your relationship.
Right. So that like so if someone who has like who views themselves as having low self worth, they're going to be more susceptible to like coming across people who are going to treat them with disrespect and take advantage of them. Is that what you're saying?
Well, oh, absolutely. And think of it this way. I mean, like obviously, like maybe not obviously. Um, there are people who treat everyone with respect because that's how they were raised, and they have self respect themselves. But if you're not in a position mentally, if you don't see yourself as someone worthy of that respect, you will at best you will not trust it.
Hmm.
And but usually, you completely reject it and repel it, and you don't honor it. One of the things that really made a difference for me in my life is that I started to see myself as a respectable person, as somebody with some value to contribute to the world. And when you start seeing yourself with that kind of self esteem, then you become very wary. In fact, you're not even wary. You just won't do things that degrade the image you hold of yourself, and you won't tolerate things that degrade the image you hold of yourself.
Hmm. You're saying like so like a way to kind of help you build respect is find some value within yourself because a lot of guys fail to see the value in themselves, and so they get down on themselves and they feel they don't are unworthy of being respected, so they'll just take disrespect just to like because that's what they're used to.
100%. You know, and here's a cool here's what I tell guys. There's You can't just all of a sudden. There's no mind trick here, right? There's no affirmation There's no fake it till you make it, whatever. No. If you want to be respectable, if you want confidence, you have to go do things that make you worthy of respect. You have to go challenge yourself. You have to build. You have to grow. You have to be self sufficient. You have to be capable. You basically have to transition from being a boy into a man. Now there are many ways to do that, but the transition is always the same from dependency to self sufficiency.
Okay.
And if you can make however you make that transition, right? For some, and for some guys, they never get to the point where they leave home without knowing that they can't come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, I remember for me it was leaving. I left home and I knew I couldn't go back, and I wouldn't go back. I learned to survive. I learned to make something of myself. I clawed myself each and every way. So um, along the way, I'm building up baseline. Baseline is just baseline. What's
Right.
next? All right. So that's why fighting. That's one of the reasons why I really appreciate what fighting did for me, because fighting is a true rite of passage. There's nothing like it left in the world. It pits you against all of your weaknesses, and it lets you know that you where you're weak at. And then when you get reminded of that, it tends to be in an embarrassing manner. So you have to work on your emotional, physical, mental strength, psychological, all of this at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the problem with the world is we have shied away. I'm not saying you got to fight, though. I do believe every man should take an amateur fight, at
Mm-hmm.
least an amateur fight. But we shy away from things that hurt us, and that's not good for the
I
human
agree with
because
you. Yeah. Or
yeah,
like
because
you can also say shy away from challenges, stuff that we're afraid of as well.
well, yeah, well, typically the two go hand in hand.
Right.
If not actually, then perceived. Like every challenge. Well, part of the reason why it's a challenge is the perception of the pain that you endure when you try to go through it, right?
Mhm.
And so you go, I don't want this pain. Well, and it doesn't matter what that pain is. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be mentally challenging. It can be emotionally challenging. Um, but it's discomfort.
Right. Exactly.
And
And that's what I mean. I think that's a whole part of the journey is actually going through that discomfort. Because like when I was, kind of facing a lot of challenges, I felt discomfort and everything, and I just had to learn how to deal with that. Because I learned if I was going to continue to, stay in my comfort zone, like I wasn't going to move forward, with my goals or my mindset. I would be stuck where I am right now. I think that's what a lot of guys have to realize. They're just going to have to deal with that fear and anxiety and deal with like the pitfalls that life throws at them when they're trying to work on something. But some guys, and they can't shy away from that, and they got to just kind of figure out a way to deal with that being uncomfortable.
yeah, like people talk about like what's that old cliche? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Well, that's not really
Right.
possible. And you don't want to get comfortable being uncomfortable because I think that poses another problem, which is I tell guys one of the unspoken about dream killers is an incredible pain tolerance because you can get comfortable, you can get used to doing anything, and the moment you get used to it, the fight leaves you. You don't want to strive for it because you're used to it. Because like every organism is objective, not just human. Every organism's objective is to find the most energy efficient configuration. All right.
Hmm.
So that's just like the most general way of saying that we want to do things the easiest way possible, right?
Right.
If you get used, I use this example. If you get used to making $1,500 a month, taking a bus everywhere, and eating ramen so you can have enough to make the rent with your three roommates and you're 35, if you get used to that, then there's no hope for you.
Right.
Like as long as you hate it, there's hope. When you accept it, when you are used to it, there can be nothing. You know,
Right, because when you get used to it, are you saying that like you're just so like you get comfortable and you don't think about growing and you want to have that discomfort so that to help you grow? Like, is that what you mean by?
well, yeah. Not only that, but here's the thing, man. People are inherently afraid of risk. I
Hmm.
really believe that there is a subset. I couldn't tell you a percentage. If I know that it's less than more, right? The
Hmm.
minority, by definition, of people who embrace risk, whether it be pure or speculative. Now, I think it obviously should be only speculative,
Right,
but there are only there's a few people that do that because they only see risk, they only see the negative, and they don't see the positive. They don't see the potential gain. All right, so take that
right,
idea. Let's put that aside. Most people are afraid of risk. Then the other issue we have to consider and we have to tackle is that to move from one level to another level is by definition a risk. Like it's
it is. Yeah,
you know there's a pretty good chance it'll work out. Like if you're a fat ass, you know there's a pretty good chance if you just get your eating under control and work out for 8 weeks, you probably won't be a fat ass. At least you won't be as fat, right? You
right.
like you know that, but that involves that discomfort we've been avoiding. And so it's this trifecta. You got avoidance of discomfort, fear of risk, and everyone and the attempt to maintain the most energy efficient configuration. You combine those three things, and that's where you get that explains the modern malaise of typical men.
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. I think a lot of people are afraid of risk because I think you're right, though. I think they focus more on what the negative from that could happen from taking a chance rather than some of the positive of taking a risk. And I think
Absolutely.
like, I had to realize that at one point. Like, yeah, because I just it's weird because I had that realization because every time I wanted to take an action, all I could think about was the negative of taking the action and thinking about all the things that could go wrong instead of focusing on all the things that could go right. And when I had that focus on everything that could go wrong, I just was like, fuck it. I don't know if I want to do this. I'm just gonna like not take any action. And or maybe I'll say I'll do it another day and just procrastinate on it.
Yeah. Now, so this is what they mean when they say get used to being or get comfortable being uncomfortable because you never really do that. Instead, um, it, it, you have to learn to you. What is he saying? Lawrence of Arabia. The trick is not minding that it hurts, right? When it
Hmm.
with the cigarette, that's how you gotta feel every time. Not minding that it sucks. Like I think about like what I had to do to wake up when I was training in school in the military, like getting up early, going to bed late, miserable life at that point, but it was worth it.
Hmm.
And the trick was not minding that I was tired, not minding that I was exhausted, not minding that I was frustrated. Um, because those are just their seasons of life. And I
Right.
felt like once I accepted mentally that this path is most likely going to lead to more opportunities than the other path, then it was easy. Okay.
Right. No,
But
that's a very good point. I like what you're saying though, because sometimes I can be frustrated or tired, and that can kind of keep me from wanting to take an action. And but then it's weird because sometimes I just have to kind of accept that. Yeah, I kind of I'm like that, but I just got to do it.
yeah,
Why be lazy about it and procrastinate?
you're gonna die one day. I mean, so you may as well get a few cool stories in your short time on this
Yeah,
rock.
right. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be on your deathbed and then you realize you lived a lame life. And I think if we all learn to take risk in life and just kind of go after what we want and not be afraid, we can actually create something and live a life that is good. But I think a lot of us are just held down by because we're still stuck in, like you said, that the risk of taking the action and the fear and anxiety.
Yep. And once you realize that like the worst, like what's the worst that's gonna happen? You could die or go to jail. And as long as you're not doing anything that is putting you at the kind of risk where you could die or go to jail, well,
Hmm.
then no matter how bad it gets, I mean, I guess you could lose a bunch of money, but you can make money back, right? So it has to be this way you see the world, where you have to see the world as temporary and learn to see yourself as temporary.
Hmm.
And
Right.
when you do that, nothing can scare you.
Do you think like we have to have like like a different perspective on things? Like we have okay, say we when we do kind of look at all the risk and focus on all the risks, you think we also have to be aware of some of the positives that could take action that can become if we take action. You know what I'm talking about? So say we're just like all we're thinking we're just our minds are totally like clusterfucked with like all this stuff that's going to happen if we if we do this we need and then shouldn't we at one point just like sit back and be like okay now let's just think of the positive stuff because like it's weird because it's weird how we tend to focus more on the negative than on the positive like even when we have setbacks in life I forget sometimes of all the successes that I've had.
Yeah, and that is natural. Humans evolve with loss aversion bias. We have to pay attention to things that are negative because negative things tend to cause us harm. That is a feature, not a bug, of humans. But we're in a different world than the world we evolved in, so now we have some outdated programming, and you have to be aware of that outdated programming.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's no longer, yes, it's perfectly natural to worry about what's going to go wrong. In fact, I'd probably think you're a psychopath if you don't.
Right, that's
But
right.
the next step is then acting in spite of that, right?
Hmm.
Realizing and assessing or assessing the threat and realizing that it is not a threat to your mortal life. The average person does not face mortal danger in anything anymore.
Hmm.
You will not face mortal danger. I remember I saying, I don't, man. Yeah, I like singing karaoke. It's fun. All right.
Yeah, right.
Um,
I did karaoke night a couple weeks ago.
and
Like,
people sometimes see it and they go, "Oh man, I can never do that." I'm like, "Why? What are you worried about? Like, is it scary? What's so scary about it?" It's just like, but these people are not going to remember me. They're probably not even paying attention. I'm going to get some enjoyment, sing a song, and it continues to make sure I don't take myself so seriously that I can
hmm.
really enjoy life.
Hmm. Right, and that I think that's what we got to do is just not take things too seriously because I think we tend to take things too seriously.
Yeah, because the trick is it's weird, man. You have to take it seriously,
Hmm.
but you can't take everything so seriously. It's you got to pick and choose.
Hmm.
Have a few things you take seriously but that's like there's almost no flexibility on it. That those are a few things, but everything else it's like nothing. I mean, at least that's how I approach things. There's like two or three things I have like I don't play that. That's what it is. But everything else, but let it go. And so in this way, my responses to the world are already predetermined. I don't have to weigh a lot of things out. This is also what a strong value system does.
Right, exactly. Well, we had a hey, Jordan. If you could elaborate more, you need to get out there and approach more women? Like, are you letting your fear hold you back? Are you just giving yourself excuses all the time? Just elaborate more, and then like maybe we'll help answer your question, help you out here in the chat. But no, like I don't know, like I just like I think we just I because I always used to take things seriously. Like in another thing that I had that worked against me too was I'm a very creative individual, so I had my imagination, and that would always like I would always like intensify things by like 100 because I had an imagination, when I challenged myself on that bullshit, like it was interesting because a lot of the stuff that I was imagining, was not true. Like
Right. Yeah.
and it's like and I and then I look at myself and I'm just like holy shit, like especially when it came to approaching women. I mentioned this before in the stream, but I had to go in. One of my mentors a couple of years ago had me go into Victoria's Secret and approach women in Victoria's Secret and have conversations. And it took me a good couple months to do that because I just dreamed. I had all these scenarios about it, like they're gonna just think like this I'm a perv or something because I'm going or because I'm in a Victoria's Secret. So one time I just decided to do it. Like I felt I was uncomfortable as fuck, and I went in there and I had an interaction with someone, and I actually got a number from there, and it was nothing like I thought I would. And I've done it a couple times, since that one time, but it was really nothing. But yet it was so weird looking back on that because I was like, my imagination was just conjuring up all these scenarios. And I think too, that's what we guys do. We when we want to go talk to a girl, like if we want to go take like a, find a new job or start a business, we have this, or imagine, like we're talking about earlier, the imagination tends to focus more on the negative than the positive. Yep. And I think like a lot of guys got to go out there and, challenge what they actually are believing, what's scaring them, keeping them from taking action, because I think once they can do that, they can see for themselves that it's not as bad as they think.
Yeah, it's I was saying, it won't kill you. I mean, it won't kill you, and it won't imprison you. You go be polite. I mean, as long as you behave. Here's the other thing too. There's a certain level of you have to have a certain level of faith, and that's faith in humans.
Mm-hmm.
And you only develop this faith through practice, right? Like, for example, I know that as long as I am polite to someone, they will generally be polite to me, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean like legitimately polite, not like condescending, not passive aggressive, but polite, and put my best foot forward in the conversation. And I know that energy will tend to be returned because I'm leading, I'm entering the interaction with the best intentions, right? So you build up confidence that the most humans are like that.
Mm-hmm.
So and so on the few times, if those ever happen that they're not, you understand that they're the anomaly. That's not what's supposed to happen. And now you can act with some confidence, you can act with more confidence when you interact with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You
right.
You can go, okay, well, the worst case scenario, this person is not going to be nice, but nothing bad is going to happen,
Yeah, right. Okay, so Jordan finally got back with me. So the reason why he's not approaching, as many women as he wants to, he just said fear of rejection and sometimes even freezing. What would you have to say to that? Like,
I mean, there is here's the thing, man. Like, you're gonna get rejected. It's so funny to fear that because rejection, you have to change your relationship with rejection. Rejection is first not personal. Like, that's the real important thing, is we tend to tie those two things together. But that everyone, I think that's pretty common knowledge. And so how helpful is it? If it's common, that depends. The next thing you have to do is you have to look at rejection as a time saver, right? If you get rejected, it's not a bad thing. Because like the worst thing, like, what's a bad thing? A bad thing is not getting rejected, but not getting accepted. Where you stuck in this some maybes that'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, here's the thing. Ultimately, we are anti-fragile creatures, and I'm not, for anyone that doesn't know what anti-fragile means, it means that we get better the more we get banged up, right? Some things are resistant, are resilient, is in they resist damage. Some things are robust, which means they are able to. It's another form of resistance, I guess. Resistance, or I guess resiliency and robustness could be interchangeable, but I guess resiliency or robustness would be when you can actually fight back, and resiliency is where you just can absorb it. But anti-fragility is like what your muscles are. They only get stronger and bigger when you break them down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh and humans we need to be broken down. I say all this to say that being told no, being rejected, being blown out, if that happens still, right? That's good for you because you learn to move despite it.
I like
You
that.
you, you realize that it's not the end of the world, and as you continue to have interactions, like the only reason why it makes you nervous is you don't have enough interactions with humans, not just girls, but like random humans, okay, men or women.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you know how to talk to people, you realize that they all pretty much respond the same. Like you go say something off color to a guy, he's gonna look at you, sideways just as much as a girl would. But if
Right.
you're a good conversationalist with your friends or with some dude who you interact with, guy, a classmate, you'll probably be a good conversationalist with a girl. But once you like stop seeing it as this event, okay, and it's not like it's not an event. I mean, I think one of the things that is really, and this might just be, I mean, you could chalk this up to age, or you can chalk it up to I've been out the game now for at least for 10 years, uh,
Mm-hmm.
all that like, but at the end of the day, the ability to have a conversation with someone. And just have a conversation with that person. I hate to sound all cheesy, but you just look at them as people and you talk and connect and you'll be all right.
Yeah,
That's
very well said.
you fear rejection because you're going in there with a purpose. And if you go in there with a purpose, like I need to get this phone number, then what? Right? Like unless you get it, then what you gonna do after that? All right, or gotta get a date. Then what? No, like, but if you're in there to have a conversation and connecting with another person, that continues. Like you can't get rejected from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other person can decide they don't want to continue getting to know you, but that is not the same as being rejected. Man, people got stuff to do, got a million and one things, on their mind. If you met 150 people every day for the rest of your life, you wouldn't meet 1% of the population on this planet. You wouldn't even meet 0.1%. People just got shit to do. Okay. So that's why you can't take it personally, and you have to do it because you enjoy connecting with people. If you do it
Mm-hmm.
that way, then there'll be nothing to fear, and you'll probably create more opportunities for yourself. And then it also gives you a new way to look at life because you stop looking at life as one big old Sarge mission. I don't know what the popular terminology is now. Uh, or one big pickup or whatever, and you just start looking at it as ways to improve yourself where you happen to cross paths with girls, or if not happen to cross paths, at the very least, when you swiping them on Tinder, you got something to say and talk about. You're not just a dude, because a lot of men. It's weird, man. Uh, I was explaining this observation I made the other day to my fiance. I was like, there's not a lot of difference across most guys. Like, and this is actually like that was my observation because I was just thinking about like what distinguishes a really like standout guy from the crowd versus what a standout girl from the crowd in her own sex, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized that most guys are around the same level, and this explains what is that famous stat they talk about where like women find like 80% of guys on dating sites unattractive. That like that's a corollary to what I'm saying, that all guys are about the same level of attractiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do things to make yourself stand out, be an interesting guy, and forget about like, oh, you got to be jacked to make money. those are look, man. I've been broke in a month. I've been like laughably broke. Like when I think about it, I'm like, ugh, how was I paying my rent broke? Like,
Mhm.
and there is no shortage of girl attention, And I've had well, and not so broken and didn't have it right. So it's they're two different. They don't matter as much as you think. What
Yeah,
matters is
just
being
some
an
people
interesting per. Yeah,
the spirit so much that they think they need to have to be jacked and have
yeah.
money.
You
It
need
really
to be
depends on how you present yourself.
yeah, a guy on his purpose is I think alpha male strategies made famous. Guy on your purpose, right? Doing that tends to bring everything else into alignment.
Mm,
Tends to have you care about your health. Tends to make you care about the contribution you make to the world that will allow you to generate some value. Tends to make you carry yourself better, right? Like all of this comes from there. When you remove like a girl is the motivation, you become more attractive. It is as weird as that sounds.
mhm. Right. Now, just because you're not totally 100% focused on the girl, too. And see, like Jordan, another thing too is like again, like you're just focusing too much on the girl. I think that's what can be causing you to, have that anxiety and that freeze up. I mean, you just got to focus on other things. Yeah, I know, like getting that booty is good and those boobs, but you got to look at it in another way, and then that will help out. But also realize too, like a lot of it is just like you got to know, hey, you don't have the experience yet, but in order to have the experience, you got to go out there and take the action. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. And so just say to you, I mean, it may take however long it will take for you to be good, but just going out there and being social with women, and maybe not even trying to get a number, and, maybe when you're working on getting a number, it doesn't work out. You can't take it personally. You just got to continue, like Ed said, to move forward, because when you move forward, you're being persistent. Plus, you're just gaining more experience for yourself, and the more you go out there and do it, the more your anxiety and everything and freezing up is gonna um, dwindle off. I mean, it's not going to be as bad because you know how to go out there and talk to women, but just like I think you're focusing like 100% on like just getting the girl. Like you have to do everything right, and you kind of got to like focus on other things as well. And I mean, when you have going to with that mindset, and the more you go out there and do it, the more you will have that good success, and the more you will feel less anxiety. So I hope that helped you out, buddy.
Hope so.
Yeah. But no, I mean, so I mean, that's just like like an inner, like again, and like you said too, you should just not care what other people think about you too. You go out there, put yourself out there, and not care what, because like I think that's the number one thing. Like I said, I struggled with that too, because I always used to care what people think, and I've learned ways to deal with it, but I still from time to time go back into my old mindset. But I learned when you just kind of don't give a fuck, and you can like honestly, people are going to really accept you more. And yeah, and even women who don't like you, you're not going to give a fuck anyways, because like
Yeah.
you can go out there and do it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. One of the so this is where the precision comes in because when we give definitions and we discuss ideas, or at least this is my goal, something I took from my training in physics. The goal I believe is to make things understandable, and so we
Mhm.
present a model, and the model isn't completely accurate or isn't accurate, but it's precise enough to to make like accurate and useful conclusions, and then also like we can add stuff to it so that so we're able to discover new things and update the model uh without having to eliminate facts that we had already introduced. Okay,
Mhm.
and so when we say not caring what other people think, now we want to drill down because like you don't want to go out dressed like a bum to a job interview or go on a date and haven't showered in three
Yeah,
days.
right. Well, yeah, there's
Because
certain
you,
things. Yeah, no, I hear
so
you.
so how is this more precise and useful? Well,
Mhm.
now we don't want to care about the outcome. We only care about the process. This answers a lot of discrepancy or handles a lot of discrepancy, right?
Right.
Uh, because when you care about the outcome, uh, that's where the anxiety comes from. That's where the worry comes from. That's where you no longer staying true to what is important to you because you're trying to achieve a specific outcome. And perhaps what you're doing is not working for that outcome. Right? This is actually one of the things I talk about when I talk about my life as a drinker. I
Hmm.
drank so much because I was worried. I wanted to feel comfortable and I wanted to fit in and I wanted to be liked. And how I got there didn't matter. It was the outcome, right?
Right.
When you care about the process, this is a ball game. This is it's a game changer, right? And when you care about the process, right? Because the process is something you go through and something you do. This is not the same thing as caring about other people, what other people think. In fact, see how it still works. We've just
Right.
updated the model a little bit. Now you're focused on doing things the right way. You're focused on the process. You're focused on putting the work in. It's the difference between uh busting your ass in the gym for 2 years or getting lipo and taking steroids and doing that work that way. One is probably going to wreck you. The other is going to build a sustainable foundation and has a ton of other peripheral positive benefits that come along with it that are not necessarily related to the outcome that most people would think you're going towards. We stand with that fitness example. If you stay focused on the process of getting in shape, you will likely improve your discipline in other areas. Well, because for starters, you gotta you gotta sleep well to get your fitness right. You have to eat well. Eating well tends to cost a little less money. It seems like it costs more, but when you work it out, you start cooking your own meals. Yeah, you're spending less money. Okay,
Hmm.
you'll be presenting yourself better, which will likely open up more opportunities for you. Because we know this, and should it be this way? Maybe, maybe not. It's not for debate. What we do know is that people who are in shape tend to get more job opportunities and opportunities in life in general, right? When
Hmm.
you look like a mess, people assume you're a mess. In other words, even if you're not a mess, they just assume you are. So yeah, focusing on the process, the part that you care about, the part that you see, the part that you go through, uh, that tends to make a lot of the rest of your life better, and it completely ignores what other people think.
Right.
It only
Why do you think
focuses
it
on.
is? That's true. I agree that, you got to focus on the process. I mean, that's what I realize, and that's what helps. That's what I learned, help me deal with all the frustration. But why do you think people forget about the process and just want the result? Do you think this is because they desire that
Every,
result?
because all humans, we want the result. That's just human nature. No, like
Hmm.
like no one looks at a Ferrari and goes, "I want to bust my ass." Like that's not how we think. We think we want the Ferrari. It just so happens to get it. We gotta go do work.
Hmm.
But that's how we always are. Like people don't think about, and this gets us into trouble sometimes. Like people don't think about what a thing costs, right? And
Hmm.
when you neglect that, you find yourself spending more than you wanted to, or perhaps more than you even have. And
Hmm.
now you've got a problem. Okay. So I always tell people, and you really have to consider what you're willing to do. And everyone and that tends to be difficult. So I phrase it another way. Because everyone thinks they'll do what it takes until it's time to do what it takes, and they're like, "Oh, that's a little more than I thought it would take."
Yeah. Right.
You have to think about what type of suffering you're willing to go through. Or one of my favorite sayings, you got to choose your shit sandwich.
Hmm.
Because no matter what you you choose to do, you're gonna be miserable. Okay, or rather, there will be miserable moments.
Right.
What
No,
are you
that's
gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay, it's like getting in shape. Getting in shape is a great way to look at it, but we can apply this idea to everything. You can either choose the discomfort of working out and being disciplined, or you can choose the discomfort of hypertension and type 2 diabetes and aging like a sack of potatoes with a hole in it, like everything falling out. You get to choose which one. They're going to be it's going to be a type of unpleasantry no matter what. But
mhm.
what do you want?
Right. Facts, miserable either way. No, and that's true, man. Like, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, you got to accept, because people got to realize that there's going to be times when you're miserable. Not everything is going to go correctly the way they want it to when they're working on something, and they're going to have those moments of adversity where they're just going to be like, "This is just too much. This is too painful." And then they got to be. I think if they really want it, you just got to tend to deal with it and just move, like you said, move forward. But I think some people, it comes to a point where the adversity becomes so much that they don't have they just don't think they can do it, and they just give up. And sometimes, but they got to realize and this may take a certain time to do it. It may take a
Yep.
couple months, it may take a couple years, it may take 5, 10 years. But you got
Yeah,
to just
if
keep on pushing.
uh one of my favorite things to tell people, the most powerful belief you can have is that given enough time you can learn anything. And if you take that to heart, then it becomes very hard to give up because why would
Right,
you give up? You haven't given yourself enough time. And so you
right.
look at challenges the right way. You look at them as something that will develop you. You look at them as a necessary stepping stone. It's not a matter of getting it quick. When you start trying to get things quick, then that's when you start to get them.
Hmm. Right. I don't know. I think, like, yeah, even though we want something quick, I just don't think we'd enjoy it as much, because, like, if we get, but compared to, like, if you had to go through the process just to get what you wanted, I think that's where the growth comes from.
Yeah, like that's the only way. Yes, and growth tends to be unpleasant,
Hmm.
but you got to go through it if you want to be more. That's part of the deal.
Right. No, that's true. And like, I guess guys should take that into consideration. That's just part of the process. Like, you got to go through being uncomfortable to be comfortable. I think
Yep.
there's
And
just
and and then the next level to that, you're never really going to be comfortable. like I mean, yeah, yes, there is a level, but the people that tend to reach that level, they don't they reach that level because they're not comfortable. It's like I think it's like the Peter principle, right? That says um a person gets promoted to the level of their ability, right?
mhm.
And life is kind of like that in general. You only go as far as you're capable of, and then when you get there, because that's where you kind of topped out at psychologically, you start feeling like you got to keep you. It doesn't feel comfortable, right?
Mhm.
Now, like I have an idea where I think I'll be comfortable. Will I ever get there? Ooh, who knows, right? But
Right.
if I get there, maybe I'll feel comfortable. Maybe I'll be so old that it won't be comfortable. I'll be like, oh, I wish I was strong.
Right. No, I hear
but,
you.
well, who knows?
But I think, like, just I feel like, again, dealing with stuff that makes us uncomfortable is what makes us stronger as guys. Like, I think that's just the whole part of, because, like, when you can face a challenge that is, like, dreadful, that you don't want to do, and actually overcome that, like, I think that helps build confidence in a guy. And it helps, especially, whatever it is he's working on, and it's going to help him with, through other challenges.
Yeah, it's the only way to build. uh, confidence. As far as I know, I don't know any other way you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to put yourself through something hard, and hopefully that you make it through it.
Right, exactly. And you just go through something hard and just go through, just deal with everything. And I think like once you deal with like the toughness and shit, you develop that mental toughness and everything. And that's what, you know, gives you the toughness, like I said, to deal with other challenges. And, like there's going to be times where people are going to want to give up. I mean, I've wanted to give up a million times too, but I still keep on pushing. I just got to be aware of why I, started on this journey or why I'm doing this. I think we got to have like a why to our what it is we're doing to help keep us in check when we're working on a certain area in our life. Because I think without that why too, that's gonna, when times are tough, I mean, you're just gonna quit.
Yep. And times always be tough. There's no time it's easy. So you may as well just get used to it not being easy. What is the saying? Don't wish for an easier life. Wish for the strength to handle a hard one.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like, I think, because, another thing that keeps us guys from challenges because we're so, like, again, I was like this, we're so used to being in our comfort zone and we don't want to go through all that toughness. I think, and we got to realize, well, hey, if we're going to go out there and make shit happen for ourselves, we're just going to have to, say, hey, fuck it. Just going to go out there. And if it, despite it being tough, despite like, all the fear, the setbacks that could happen, despite all the risks, the things that could happen. You just got to just do it. Because, like, if you don't do it, like, it's gonna kind of be stuck in your comfort zone and you won't develop your confidence. And, like, and then again, that will show in other areas in your life. But if you go out there and you fucking make it happen and you go, no matter what it is you're doing, like I believe that that will help you shine. And like we're talking, some Jordan was talking about talking to women and shit, just going out there and doing that and maybe doing something else in your life, man. And, and the confidence you get from those challenges, that's going to make you shine when are talking to a woman or, just trying to be in front of other people as well. Cause you can say, yeah, I did that. I can't believe I did that. And then you just, that's going to show in your interactions.
Yep. And you will have a strength, and you will have an attractiveness from that strength. That's what I think. That's what we're looking for: a certain competence, a strength, and a capability about yourself that you have with your life, and you can't fake that. It comes from putting yourself through real things that you have to do.
Right, exactly. But hey, Ed, we're getting close to an hour here. Do you have like any final points you'd like to give our viewers before we end the show here?
Yeah, just remember, man, the difficulty of a task is irrelevant if it's vital to your success. And the most powerful belief you can have is that you can learn anything given enough time.
Right, there you go. That's true. And like you said, don't give a fuck what other people think about you.
Absolutely.
Go out there and make your dreams happen. Because like I believe too, another thing too, like we let other people when we tell people about our dreams, and I've had this happen to me before when I tell my friends what I plan to do in my life. They say, no, you can't do that. You're not going to do that. And I had to learn to not give a damn and just go ahead and do it anyways.
You just have to go and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Where can the viewers find you, and where can they also find your book as well?
Well, I'm at Lattimore on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, well, even YouTube. I'm Ed Lattimore here, and just type that in, and you'll be able to find me. My website is edlattimore.com, and you can find my books on Amazon. Just type Ed Lattimore in.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you very much, Ed. And hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to give a thumbs up, share, and if you haven't subscribed, and yeah, like I said, everything I agree with. I'm going to close up by saying, pretty much the same thing. Go out there, do the actions. Don't give into the fear and anxiety. I always learned if you got to just deal with it and accept the fear and anxiety. when you're going out there and taking the action, when you're having all these your thoughts about things not working out, hey, just do it anyways and make it happen. Because when you change your mindset about a certain thing, it will like definitely, work out at the end for you. And yeah, and I'm doing another show this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time and 12 p.m. Pacific time with Afi Kingdom, Coach Justin, and Sophisticated Man. We're going to do a short panel discussion again on inner game issues that men struggle with. So be sure to check that out too. Until next time, peace.